I'm still learning to love, starting to crawl. Say something, I'm giving up on you. I'm sorry that I couldn't get to you.
Welcome to Lenses and Lyrics, where music and photography collide. This podcast dives into the crossover world of photographers who are or were musicians, those whose passion for sound influenced the way they see through the lens. Connect with all things Lenses and Lyrics at lenseslyrics.com. Jared, this is going to be fun. This is going to be a lot of fun.
I'm pumped.
This is something that, I'm sure you've had conversations like this with other people in the past, but it's not something that you're going to be talking about in your day-to-day work.
Yeah.
So that's why this is always a blast for anybody who I chat with on this show. They always leave like, that was fun. So I'm really hoping that you get the same vibe. So I'm going to just dive right in to the first question I have for you, which is, before photography, before filmmaking, before this became your primary creative outlet, I'm assuming that music played quite a big role in your life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Can you share that? Where did music fit in your life before being behind a lens?
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Yeah, so I grew up in a family that it was very musical. So I'm one of 5. So I have 2 older sisters who were very musical, played the piano. And so that's actually where I started, was with piano, which is great. Side note, piano is a great, core instrument to kind of work off of. So took piano for 4 years, age of 12 on. And I hated practicing. I hated that piece of it. And so I moved from piano to guitar after that. And my very first guitar was this is hilarious. Okay, this is when eBay was really big. And I remember
when it was the true eBay.
Oh yeah. It's
very different now.
Very different. But I remember searching on eBay for an electric guitar, which hindsight, that's the worst guitar to start out on learning guitar, an electric. So, but I wanted to be cool. And so I'm searching eBay, have no idea what I'm doing, but I end up buying a black Stratocaster off of eBay. The brand was, I want to say the brand was a Hondo Stratocaster. It was black and it was awesome. But that was my very first guitar coming off of that. And so got the electric guitar, ended up getting the acoustic and learning how to play the guitar. But really where that gifting really took off and started to learn more and more was in the church. I played a lot of music in the church growing up. And so that would be in the youth group, we would have Wednesday night kind of gatherings together, and I was in the student band from from 8th grade on. And so that's really where I started to have a love for it and really kind of branch out into different genres of music from that. But that's really where it all started, man.
Yeah. That's great. You mentioned piano being a core instrument.
Yeah.
So I started, my first instrument was a clarinet.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was. And like you, I actually started, besides from in school, playing in middle school, I also, at Temple, I would play at services as well. And in Judaism, clarinet's a very perfect instrument.
Yeah, okay.
for Jewish songs. But anyway, I as an adult,
That's
I
awesome.
tell myself that if I had a choice to start over, and what I would tell my kids if they decided they wanted to get into playing an instrument, I would tell them start with piano for sure.
Okay.
And just
Okay.
deal with the frustration of learning, because it is. I didn't learn piano until college, because I originally was going to college for music, and I had to take piano lessons as a class.
Oh, yeah.
2 different,
Oh, yeah.
like a 101 and whatever. And it is really an annoying instrument to take lessons for. But it's also really important. It is a really important, as you said, a core instrument. So
Yeah. I mean, I think foundational is probably a great word for it. I mean, my encouragement to people would be like, just even if you just get your feet wet in piano, like it'll make everything else make sense. Like of knowing your scales, knowing how the notes all flow. If you have the image of the piano, like it just helps things make sense, at least from my perspective on that. Yeah.
So these days, fast forwarding to today, you can still play piano. If you sat in front of a piano, you can still play some stuff. Maybe not perfect, maybe not amazing, but you can still play here, right? Guitar's your primary
Kind of my
instrument.
primary.
Do you play anything else?
You know, the guitar instruments, so like I'll play acoustic, electric, and some bass. But yeah, those are pretty much the ones I stick to.
And the vocal cords. So on this episode, I totally downloaded one of your Instagram reels, and I'm going to be including a little 5-second clip of you playing on that. It's so good. You are really good. So you've got a great voice. So you've got that going for you too.
Thanks, man.
So you spent years with playing at a church and whatnot. What did that experience teach you about leading people and working with people, interacting with people on the photography, videography side, and the emotional experiences behind it all? Because there's a crossover there, whether it's the church side of things, whether it's the music side of things. There's a crossover there between that and how you interact with people that are paying you to film them, right? Or paying you to photograph them, or whatever it is. How do you see that? Like, what's that blend like? What did that teach you?
That's a really great question, Scott. Well, you know, on the music end, I feel like I've been in other environments that, you know, have been paid or been like different than worship music. And I think it kind of is the same principle where like you're taking people on a journey, you know, like if it's leading worship or playing in a coffee shop or doing something, like you're creating an experience, you know, for people. And I think on the photography or videography or, you know, whatever the craft is on that side, like it's the same deal. Like you're creating an experience for people. And I really like to look at it like you're grabbing somebody's hand and you're walking with them through something. So week in and week out. So I still lead music in the church often. Not as much as I did years ago, but I still get the chance to. And I really do look at it that way of like I am trying to create an atmosphere and an experience for people that they can have a connection. And so I feel like that carries over to photography and videography. Me and my business partner, Miles, like that is our goal. Like we want to create an experience that people can lock into and a connection with people that's real. And so I think, yeah, to your point, like I think the years of growing up doing music and connecting with people like through that craft has kind of carried over a lot into photography.
Yeah. Do you, when you're like directing, which may not necessarily be something for a wedding day, but let's say it's what you did for Imagine, right? You've filmed a bunch for Imagine, and it's more on the commercial side, right? And there is a sense of directing. You're positioning where they might want to be for certain things, right? And a bunch of things like that. Do you think there's a parallel between leading a worship or which I have no experience with whatsoever.
Yeah,
I am
yeah,
not a
yeah,
religious
yeah.
person at all. But
Yeah.
and I'm Jewish, so I don't I don't know what goes into all of it.
Yeah.
But any parallels between that and or leading the music at a worship, right? I mean, it's in a way conducting the music to directing a film of some sort. Is there a parallel there as well that is worth bringing up?
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't really know. I mean, you see like similarities as far as like, at least my style, like even with commercial shoots and stuff, like as far as directing, I think our style is going to be more of like creating environments that like people can work within and casting vision for like where you want to go. So like in worship or like on a Sunday morning, like if I'm in charge of like leading the music for that, like I'm casting a vision for where I want to go, and we're gonna see where the people go from there. And I think even in like commercial shoots or even wedding days, it's a pretty much the same. Like of, hey, like this is the story that is here, and this is what we want to tell. So let's tell that story, and let's be as natural as we can, through that. And so in the commercial world, I think it's the same thing where it's like, hey, these are the goals. This is what we need to get across here. Like, what is natural for you guys to tell this story? And I'm going to put you in really great light, or I'm going to, do the best I can to get the best audio out of this. Right. And so, but let's see where this takes us. And so I think paving, like a picture would be like paving the ramp for that plane to take off. Like, I just want to give somebody a great takeoff strip to fly. Yeah,
great. I have found, as you were just talking about, like, getting great audio and things like that, I have found, I don't know why it just clicked in my head, that over the years of setting up a PA system, setting up to perform somewhere, whether it's at temple or whatnot, and you have to troubleshoot audio issues, or that might come up, and you have to troubleshoot it on the fly, definitely correlates to what we do as professional photographers, videographers, behind the camera and setting up lights and light stands and audio and things like that, and having to troubleshoot and fix on the fly without your clients knowing that you're doing that, you know what I mean? Which is the true sign of a professional, is being able to fix a problem without your client knowing. And I think that it's one of those things, not necessarily like, it's not something that's exclusive to music, of course, but I think that it's something that having a background in music before you get behind the camera, it definitely has its perk when it comes to the technology and the equipment that you've come to learn just from playing.
And totally, man. So. No, I mean, audio is such a huge piece. I mean, I don't know how what your perspective is, and I'd love to hear it, but I think I've come to learn that like audio is almost a bigger piece than the visual. Like, people can watch crappy things, but they can't listen to them. So that's always a huge goal. And I think like my OCD of like wanting things to sound as good as they possibly can, from years of being involved with music and knowing how to run sound and stuff, like, it's huge. So, I mean, I would say that to anybody starting out in video or running sound and stuff, like those pieces, like if you can jump into that or dive into learning how to get better at that, like you will stand apart from the rest of the crowd if you can be good at that stuff, because it really does make a huge difference, not just in, like cinema and like creating movies and things like that, but even like a YouTube video. Like, man, if you could have good audio, you really will stand out, and it's so important.
Do you subscribe to the MKBHD YouTube channel, Marquez Brownlee?
I don't. Oh, maybe.
Okay.
What do they do there?
So he's a tech reviewer, right? So Marquez reviews like.
Oh, yeah.
So they have another channel called The Studio,
Okay.
which is very regular behind the scenes look at their multi-million-dollar YouTube production studio that they have.
Okay.
You know, they're
Yeah.
popping out the most polished YouTube videos available. And in the more recent behind the scenes, like an updated one, you learn that they have 3 audio engineers
Okay.
in
Wow.
there that work for Marquez. It's like two engineers and 1 sound designer.
Wow.
So they have two people that all they do is get the audio working well, sounding the way they want it to sound, and then they have a sound designer that, you know, will put it all together with the final edit. Like,
Totally.
they put three staff employees for a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's just about sound. It's,
Yeah. It's a
It is-
beast.
it's so valuable.
And I think a lot of people don't put as much into it as the potential is so much higher if you could actually put into it. Like a lot of the videos that I do are like trailer type videos of like highlights of things. And I've noticed that the time, if I can put the time into soundscaping things, and when I say soundscaping, I mean like adding in environmental sounds to videos to bring it to life. Like those are the ones that really do shine, and it's like the extra step of creating like a masterpiece of a film is the soundscaping piece. But it's a beast. It's a whole nother world of like trying to get things to sound real and like realistic, and you getting, you know, clips of things of sound bites, like when you're there on site when you're filming and stuff, like thinking ahead to where you can like storyboard out like your video and know like, okay, these are the sounds that I need to get here, because this is what's going to tell the story of not just how this looked, but like how it felt. And like that's how you stand apart.
Yeah, I do think like the Rode video mic goes and the DJI mics, like those little ones, I feel like that had to have made soundscaping a little bit easier for people now that those exist, because now you can take this tiny tiny mic that can literally record to itself and just place it down somewhere and let it go while you're doing something else and getting it. You know, I'm sure it's still extremely complicated, but I have to imagine that's made the process a little bit simpler for people.
Totally, yeah. The recording process, like, there's really no excuse. And honestly, like, the sound libraries that are available to us now, like, I mean, I honestly use the libraries a lot more than I actually try to get the on-site stuff, unless it's something like very particular to that film that's like, well, I'm not gonna be able to find the sound anywhere else. But like the sound libraries from like Artlist and things like that are overwhelming to where you have more than enough, but you just have to know how to, even once you get that sound, like how to line it up with your video portion for it to make sense. Like, this has to be real. And so, like, how would this sound? And so a lot of times you have to manipulate the actual, like, original file to make it actually go with what you're actually doing in the video. So,
yeah, a good example of this being filming that photo walk with Miles at the High Line in New York City, right?
Yeah.
To go and get a ambient sound of a New York City.
Yep.
I mean, you can get millions of them.
Yeah.
You know, you don't need to go and record one because there's already so many available. But if you wanted one in particular where, like, in the film, you know, somebody's saying, wow, actually, this did happen. Look at all those taxis. Remember, there's all those taxis that were lined up? But then, like, you wanted, like, 6 taxis, like, honking the horns. Now you got to be specific, right?
Yeah,
That's a little bit trickier. So,
No, it's true. Yeah, you got to kind of have to think ahead. But to that point, though, like, I'll often, like, lean into the post work more than I will the, like, while I'm there, because, like, I know that I'll have so much more control over it if I can bring it in later. So, like, I really try to lean into that to know, like, I just need to pull these pieces in, because then I'll have full control instead of, like, just getting it from the shotgun mic and, like, having to figure out how to make it all kind of make sense. I'd rather have it on its own channel, like, where I can level it out the way I want to and just have more control over it.
So while we're on the storytelling aspect with sound and whatnot, so as musicians, we develop a strong sense of rhythm and pacing. How does that background musically help you and impact the way you edit, the way you tell your stories? Like, how are you taking things, like, what are you taking from it and making it and having it play a role in the way that you are telling the story visually for your clients?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, music is emotional, right? And I mean, it's the hardest, for me at least, and I think most people would say this, like, it's one of the hardest parts of like a video creation is finding the music. You know, if it's a wedding film, like we'll just use wedding films as an example. Like usually, or the way I do it is like I'll find the song and build off of the song instead of like building out the clips and the story and then trying to put music to it. It doesn't really work that way. So, I mean, you have your ebbs and flows of music to where you have your highs of crescendos and epic crashes and things like that, and then you have the really low moments. And so you can see that in the waveform. Like when you throw it into DaVinci, which is what I use, or whatever program you're using, like you're going to see the waveform kind of go up and down, and you'll have low points and then you'll have high points. And a lot of those songs that you pull from Artlist and Music Bed and things like that, like most of them will go to like an epic ending and then come down. And so you can build off of that and know like your story, which wedding stories, if you're going to do it like in a chronological order, like you usually start out that way to where, you know, the beginning of the day, you know, you're getting ready all the way to the end of the day. Like you're partying your heart out, you know, or you're ending on a sunset. Well, I mean, the music needs to make sense for that. And so, you know, once you find that perfect song, and then you can kind of you build off of it, but you're not going to put, you know, on this crescendo moment, you're not going to, you know, put like the sweet moment of like a first look where they're like telling their vows or something to you. It won't make sense there. Yeah. And so you have to kind of be conscious of like how things feel. And that's really what the ups and downs of music, it's making you feel something. And so like the visuals need to make sense with the way the music is feeling for you to really lock in and engage. It's very powerful. It's a very powerful tool. And again, one that sets you apart from other creators if you can really lock in the sound and the audio side. I mean, we're just talking about music, but if you can actually master the audio capture of the voices of the day, which is like, yes, I've come to see that it's one of the hardest things to do well. But if you can master the things that were said that day to where you can incorporate that into your wedding films, like that is key and really sets you apart. And not just, I keep saying sets you apart, I'm not even about that, like that tells the story the best. You know, and that's all intertwined with music, you know, music and like, you know, the vocal people talking. It's just, it all has to fit together, and you have to find music that make that work. Yeah.
I was talking to Sam Hurd on another episode, and he mentioned that, you know, he's doing hybrid, right? So he's not focusing on video, but he's, you know, his 360 camera is always recording and stuff.
Yeah.
What he started doing was, because he's not miking up the clients, like in particular, he's now hiding his, I think he uses the Rode Go, you know, he's hiding it like behind like attaching it to the microphone for the speeches. That's being used for the DJ or the band or, you know, and just hiding the mic where he can capture the people's voices without having to mic up the people specifically. So I just think like for those who fall into, like for you and Miles, right? You know, he's getting the stills, you're getting the videos, you're a team. You know that you're focused on, you know, you're going to be getting the audio where you need to get the audio and the video where you need to get the video, etc. But then there's the people that don't, have a team and they're a one man show or one woman show that they've got to worry about it all. For those, finding sneaky places to hide the mic, I mean, you want the people to know it's there, but where it's not on camera, but you're still capturing the audio, I think it could be very creative and a good way to get those voices that can truly tell that story. Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole thing as far as like being creative and how you hide the mic and where the placement is. Because I mean, there is a place that it needs to go, like for it to sound the best. And honestly, I think the biggest hurdle, like in wedding day stuff, like is that you just don't have a lot of time, and so you need some time to finagle that and get it in the right place, test it out, be able to monitor it. And most of the time you just don't have that luxury. And so you're like flying with it and like just hoping for the best. And that's why, in my opinion, the videography it can be one of the most stressful things and is worth a lot, or it should be worth a lot, because what goes into it is just, the craft is hard. It's hard to pull it off really well. But I think one key that has helped me, like if you do have, usually if there is a microphone, there is a board somewhere that you can tap into. And so like I bought like every cable possible that you could need. So where I show up and there's a DJ there and I'm like, dude, how can I daisy chain off of this to where I can get this audio? Like that is the prime scenario to where you don't have to mic people. But the other,
and then you're just going to what, like going into a Zoom and just letting it record all day, or
or the Rode mics. You know, you can go the 1/8 inch out into a 1/4 inch or whatever it might be, and just record to one of those little guys, which is awesome. But yeah, having the Zoom recorder is great. You know, there's tons of options out there, but I think with that though, redundancy is very important. Like you can't just have one. So like I'll plug into a board, but then I'm going to have a mic somewhere else that either like on my camera with the shotgun mic or somewhere else. Like if I can run 3 things at the same time just to keep it running, just in case, because like something always goes wrong.
Always, yeah.
Always goes
wrong. But that's
wrong.
not only for redundancy, but also for syncing up the audio afterwards. That could make that easier, especially if you've got something on camera recording to the file.
Yep.
So
totally, man.
I have a few left. Let's see if we can do rapid fire of this.
Okay, let's go.
What did I just do? Oh, I just ripped that off. That's fine. Have you ever incorporated your own music, your own originals, into a client?
No.
No?
That'd be so awkward. No,
Okay.
I haven't. No, I mean, I have some original stuff out there, but like, no, I haven't ever. I feel like that would be, unless it was something they requested, that would feel so weird for me.
Weird for you, or you think weird for them?
Well, I think if they didn't know it was coming, it would be super weird for them for sure, too.
Okay.
It's like, wow, this guy's trying to get his music out. This is really weird. So, yeah.
Looking back, do you think you are fundamentally a musician who became a filmmaker, or a storyteller who just uses different mediums?
That's a great question. I mean, I feel like a little bit of both, but I mean, I feel like I probably connected with the first being a musician and using other realms, but like I feel like I've moved into being very passionate about storytelling. So like I think it's been a progression over, you know, the decades of doing both now, that like I'm realizing that there's like a story in everything, and it's just like, how are you going to tell it? Yeah. And so I don't know if that answers your question, but yeah, a little bit of both.
All right. If you had never picked up a camera, what do you think your life in music would be right now?
Well, I mean, I don't know if my life would be much different than it is right now in the music. Like, I feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do as far as music goes. Like I'm using my gifts on a weekly basis. in the way that I feel like, God wants me to use it. Because, I mean, that really was my story. Like, I'd never picked up a camera before 2016. And so, and my world looked kind of similar to what it does right now. Like, I was playing more music for sure, but I feel really satisfied with the pace that I'm at right now, being able to use like all the different stuff. So I don't know if it would look drastically different.
Okay, that's good. That's good. My favorite question I've been asking every person I talk to.
So
same question at the end.
Okay.
This is the one that
this
really
is why I
is
should
going to
have
make you
listened to
think.
some other ones. Dang it.
If your style, I'm going to go for you. I'm going to go with video style. I know that you've got
Yeah.
some crossover there with photo, but I'm going to go with video style.
Totally.
If it was a genre of music,
Oh my gosh.
what would it be and why?
It was like genre of music. What would it be
Yeah.
and why?
That really gets
That
you
is
thinking.
That is a tricky one. Man, when you first said that, I thought of jazz music. For whatever reason, jazz came to my mind, because here's the deal with jazz.
Yeah.
You can miss a couple notes in there and play the wrong note, and baby, it's just jazz. And so I think for videography,
I love that one.
for videography, you can take some risk and maybe not hit it every time. But you know what? That's just how the song goes.
I love it. Love it. That's fantastic. Jared, this has been great. I've been wanting to chat with you about this.
I know, man. It's been a long time coming.
A long time. A long time. You know, it's... I started out, as we talked about earlier in this conversation, I started out playing at Temple. I'm talking weekly with my clarinet.
Clarinet.
So while I am not religious in my adult life, I have so much respect and admiration for what you do to make people smile when you're at church playing, and giving back to the community that you're so connected with in person, that it. So I was very, very glad that we were able to make this work.
Yeah, me too, man.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for chatting with me about this.
You're awesome, Scott. Thanks, buddy.